Welcome back to the I Gotta Go podcast. And I am beyond excited for today's episode because you're just going to fall in love with this woman the same way I did the minute we met. And I'm just going to have Lena tell you all about herself. And then we'll talk a little more about her I Gotta Girl story. So, Lena, tell the world about yourself.
Jackie, thank you so much for having me here. I just adore you. I adore your work, and it is truly such a gift to be a guest on your podcast.
Thank
So, I call myself a modern day fairy. I am an intentional manifestation coach. What it means is I work with business owners, people who either have their own business or work in a business, and feel that they hit like this plateau. You know
you.
how sometimes when we are on a health and wellness journey and we start doing all the right things and we know the
Mhm.
formula and we're working out and we're eating kale and we're drinking water and like we're doing really good, and then the scale just wouldn't budge?
Yeah.
Well, I notice a lot that it happens in business, and that's that revenue plateau where it doesn't matter what you do, doesn't matter how consistent you're on social media or who you hire for marketing or what you say or how you pivot. The numbers in accounts receivable just don't budge.
Mm-hmm.
So they usually come to me saying, look, I've done all the right things. I need some magic. And that's where I step in.
Excellent.
So we're going to let people believe that I deal with magic. For you, I will tell you my background is actually industrial organizational psychology, and I worked in corporate for 25 years. So what I do is some energy work, but it's also a lot of business psychology. It's getting to the bottom of why you're in your head, how you can get out of your own way, and
Mhm.
how we can open that flow of money coming in. So it's more about the art of receiving.
Excellent. And you're an East Coast girl back in Pennsylvania, right?
I
And tell us a little about yourself personally too, because I know people love to know, my people love to know that part too.
You can hear the accent. I joke that I have been imported. I was born in Eastern Europe and came to the United States in 94. Every time when I say that, I promise that I'm going to come up with like a really cool story to just like dazzle people, like escaping USSR regime or like something amazing. The truth is, between you and I and you listeners, is I had a big blowout with my boyfriend during prom. And I decided that I'm going to teach him a lesson and I'm going to go far, far away. And over the pond felt pretty far.
Yeah.
So I came to the United States to study, never really intended to stay. Actually thought I was going to just stay for one semester and then go back because
Mhm.
he would learn his lesson and. But in that one semester, he found somebody else, I found somebody else, and we just parted ways forever. And then 5 years later, me and my master's degree, I met my future husband and basically stayed in the United States. I think that, it's definitely a blessing. This is home now. I've had my kids here. Like I am, diehard American. But it's funny how sometimes when we think life doesn't work out, it actually does.
Right? I had no idea that it was a fight at prom that brought you to the US. That's a better story than like the hardcore regime stuff and everything. So I think that's great. And it just shows your willingness to take risks at a young age. And I think it's very interesting because the at my young age, I took a ton of risks in comparison to my siblings. I'm the baby of six, and I was the one who like came home for a year, tried to do like the right thing and get a job, and I was like, "Ooh, this doesn't feel right." And I didn't know what feeling right or intuition was back then, but we followed it because we didn't know too much at that point. And so then I traveled and went across the country and did things, and like my brothers and siblings, they all just stayed in the Jersey area and never really left. And not that that's bad. They have fabulous careers. They have way more money than I do because of all the risks that I've taken and the changes that I've made. And they have kids and they have the picket fence and the 2.5 kids and the dog and all the things. And but I look at it and when I hear someone's story that at a young age like that, that you were like, you left your country to go to another country. Like that's
Yeah.
huge. And I love that just, I think that's an underlining foundation of why people are going to love you even more. So thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it. And so you are on the I Got It Girl podcast, as you know. I mean, we've said it like 10 times already, but still, the I Got It Girl, for those of you listening for the first time, because you're maybe someone who came from Lena's world who doesn't know me, the I Got It Girl is a concept that I came up with after I had this epiphany that I had been living my life from survival, control, and fear instead of really thriving through a place of love and joy. And it started really young for me at 7 when five when my mom died and my dad was raising all 6 kids on his own with a construction company. I, by 7, was doing my own laundry, cooking my own meals, like figuring out how to get to school. Like, I literally got on the wrong bus one year and went to the wrong school because I guessed. I got on a bus and didn't know 3 buses came to my house where we were located. So I got this like fierce independence way of being. And that's how I've lived my life. And so I didn't need anybody's help. Like, I truly, you'll giggle when I say this, truly thought that I had no support from anything. So I was like, I got it. I don't need your help. I didn't believe in universal energy, God, nothing like that. I was just like, whatever, it's on my back. I can take care of it. I'd be carrying 3 suitcases on my head as I walk in the door, and people would want to help me. And I'd be like, nope, I'm good. I don't need your help. You can just imagine. And I know so many women are living a life like that. But what I realized about 5 or 6 years ago when I started my self-development journey, which is owning a business is a self-development journey with a compensation package on the back end. You grow first. And I realized that like I was blocking love, I was blocking joy, I was blocking like these really important things. And even with my husband, I didn't let go from the I Got It Girl control until 2 years ago and allowed my husband to be like surrendered and support. So a woman who doesn't have to lose all of their I Got It Girl amazing traits and what got them to where they are, but they do get to bring in more through trusting and surrendering and loving, joyfulness and everything, and living in that world. So when I tell you that story, what is one of your I Got It Girl transition stories? Because again, I'm not losing my fierce independence, my ability to stand on my own 2 feet. Like, I don't have to lose my identity of who I am by letting go, but I don't have to live in survival anymore. I don't have to live in that fierce control. I'm allowed to be supported by beautiful people like you and people in the world that I've met over these last 7 years that have been magical. But I wanted that more. So I had to let go to have more. Isn't that funny? So what's your story?
It makes so much sense. And it's so deeply relatable because I find that just about every successful person has gone through the moment. And some people will call it awakening. Some people will call it come to Jesus. Some people will call it midlife crisis, brain down, hitting the rock bottom, whatever it was in
You
your
know
life,
all the you know all these.
right?
I love it.
All the
You know
labels.
all of them.
But you remember the point when you were like, what is going on? Like, this
Mhm.
feels so hard. And I find that it's usually when you break down, you start building up. So I'm not an exception. I shared that I came to the United States when I was 17, and I had a preconceived notion about what it means to be successful in the United States. Just to be clear, was based on 90210 and those kind of shows, Santa Barbara. So I was like, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to work super hard. I'm going to hustle like crazy. I'm going to become, available for all these opportunities. I'm going to go really hard. And you know what? It was actually working. I joke that when they hired me in corporate, I was 19. I was a puppy. Like, they couldn't send me on a business trip because I wasn't old enough to rent a car. It was crazy. Like, happy hours were insane because I couldn't drink. So I was literally raised from the pub in a very rough, very masculine energy of corporate world. I
Mhm.
worked in insurance. So I worked in US healthcare, I worked at Aetna, then I worked at CVS corporations. Those are established century plus old entities
Mhm.
with history, with customs, with approach, with a lot of very successful people doing big things.
Mhm.
And I was like, I'm going to be them. I'm going to be them. And I did it. I burned midnight oil. I traveled like 52 months pregnant across the country if I needed to present. Like I did it. And so my I got it moment was actually when I already had our youngest. She must have been 6, I'm thinking. And I was going through one of those really grueling open enrollment seasons. I was in the Medicare division.
Okay.
So we were working like probably 60-hour weeks. I wouldn't see my kids for days. Like if I saw them at a distance, I would like toss a donut at them so they wouldn't come close, and I just continued working. So when we lived through that component of my corporate letter, I felt like I had to like reward them, like pay them back for not reporting me to social services. So we took them on a trip to Disney. And when we were coming back after a week at Disney,
Mm.
sitting in Orlando airport, I saw my 6-year-old crying. Well, I didn't really think much about it because, I mean, like, who doesn't cry leaving Disney?
Right.
Sometimes it's tears of relief if you're a parent. But it's not unusual to see tears on kids' faces at Orlando International. So I looked at her and I was like, hey, you all right? Like, are you gonna miss Mickey? And she looked me dead in the eyes and she said, I'm gonna miss you.
Mm.
And that was such a stab in the heart
Mm.
because my immediate response, which is a survival response, would have been to say, but I am doing this for you, but we're on this trip because. And then I was like, but does it matter?
Mm.
Because if she feels that I am absent in her life, does a week with a dress up character truly compensate for me not being available?
Mhm. Mhm.
So, truth to be told, when we got home, I was like, we got to change. Like that, I got a girl has got to go.
Mhm.
And it wasn't overnight. Like, I don't want to say that, it was like that Hollywood story when I came, I wrote my resignation letter. Like, there was none of that. It was a series of micro shifts that eventually created the quantum leap that allowed me to step into a different universe.
That right there, I want to dig a little deeper into. I think so many are sitting in jobs right now that are unhappy, unsatisfied. Maybe they were very happy and excited in the beginning, kind of probably where you were when you were 19 and 20. And then maybe 20 years later, they know they have that feeling that there's
Yeah.
more, but they know something different. And but the thought to leave is like that it's going to be this one major thing, like one big leap, jump off the cliff, whatever. I joke around that I kind of got like pushed off the cliff when I got fired and dove into my business, but there was a lot of micro decisions like you mentioned before that that led to me saying yes. And then there was a ton more decisions I had to make after that, day to day. And so I think that's why it's so important that mentors like yourself and I help people through that, because that's one of the main things I do is help people make that shift, whether it's going to be an internal shift along with the strategy shift along the way. And so for you, when you're in that moment, what were some of the main ones? Like, because there's a lot of little things that happen that build the big thing that you see. I wouldn't have this business for 7 years if I hadn't done all those little things and still doing them, still doing stuff. So what are some of the top 3 you would say that are so important if you're gonna make that kinda shift? With that
I went,
you did for yourself too.
yeah. So I would say at work, I went all in on my team.
Mhm.
And I realized that a lot of times giving people the opportunity to step up
Mhm.
is all it takes for them to truly blossom.
Mhm.
Because when we are the mother bear, when we're the helicopter manager, when we are like all in all things, well, guess what? That is actually pretty limiting for people around because by nature, we love to give.
Mhm.
And when we're overpowering and overbearing, we're cutting that energy and interrupting the reciprocity that intended to circulate. So you're not looked at as a superwoman or a hero or the savior. You're becoming a barrier because
Mhm.
eventually people quietly disengage. Like if
Mhm.
you're doing it all, they'll let you. When
Before you
you,
go on to your next thing, oh, sorry, when you
no, no,
finish,
go
I
ahead.
want to touch on this because I did restaurant business for 30 years in leadership management. And people were always dumbfounded on how many people I would develop and promote because they were like, these are your best people. They make your life easy if like they stayed. Like if I kept them and all my best people and hoarded them and like you said, didn't like allow them to grow and move on, um, I'd be sitting pretty, right? But I first of all, I have such a nature of wanting to develop people. Like it's just been since I was a kid. I was training people at 15 and 16 at the local bakery in Jersey. So that was a natural thing to me. So it didn't make sense to me that other people didn't want to do this. But it's a control thing. And I would watch other managers. So when we're talking about the I got it girl in control, like if there's something you can control, you know, that comment of like, well, I can just do it faster and better. So I'm not gonna, or I'm gonna, dude, let go. So I'm glad you brought this up because this is another, for those who are not in business right now and you're in a corporate job and listening to this, and if you feel that like where are you not letting go and allowing in your job? Because in business we have to like eventually like get people to support us and let go and energetically and all that stuff. But in your job, there's this like intense you can see the same control behaviors
Yeah.
for the I got it girl in that capacity. So continue. All right, but I love that example.
No, that's brilliant because listen, even God doesn't do everything himself.
Right?
Not that he can't, but he trusts us. He puts us in this 3D, human meat suit so that we can do things in this 3D world on
Hmm.
his behalf, but he doesn't do everything himself. Like he did it for what, 6 days and then he took rest. So shall we. So that was number one. Number two, I started realizing that if I don't know my how, I gotta look for my who. Because there is always somebody else who has figured it out and probably does it better than I would be doing for a long time.
Hmm.
Like, I haven't cut my own hair since I was 5. Thank you, Jesus, for little favors, right? So, that is one thing I would really encourage people. And again, it is scary in corporate because everybody is like, oh, I gotta be old to old people. I gotta be the Swiss Army knife. I gotta, like, be dabbing into marketing and sales and be multifaceted and all of that. But there are times when actually saying, you know what, I don't know. I don't know how. And looking for that who is so brilliant.
Hmm.
My most successful clients who work with me today are the people who said, I don't know how to scale my business. Who is my who? And invited me into their world to be that.
Hmm. Yes.
And then the third thing is going to sound so cliche, but figure out what you want. Here's why I say that. We are so conditioned to register what we don't want.
Hmm.
That's all we do. But in the world of energy, which, oh, fun fact, we're actually more energy than matter. If you look under microscope, what we pay attention to grows.
Yep.
That's momentum. That's quantum physics. It's not woo-woo. It's been proven in labs over and over and over. If you're a nerd like me, hit me up. I'll send you some links. You can watch those studies on YouTube. So when we're focused on what we don't want, thinking that we are going to fix it, we're creating more of that. Because you can only be a problem solver if you have a problem to solve.
I hope you all heard that one clearly because I was the epitome, my identity, let's just put it that way. My identity was who am I if I'm not solving a problem? Like, who am I if I'm not fixing something? Who am I if I'm not like, like every financial stuff that goes on, whether I was with a partner or single, whatever, it's like I would create, like, I would energetically create so I could fix it,
Yeah.
so I could recreate or champion effect, right? All that stuff. And I realized one day I'm like, I'm addicted to problem solving because I had to do it since I was 7. And that's part of like that felt I felt my value, my identity through like if I can solve this issue. So there was no issues to solve. I
And
was
what are you
like,
gonna do?
I gotta make it. Like what
Yep.
wait, I gotta create an issue. So we do that subconsciously in our relationships. We do them in our jobs, we do it in our businesses. If we have that's something that we just grew up with, like, and that's part of our identity. That I know you help people shift, but man, was I an addicted to a problem. I'm a recovering problem solver. And I'm not saying you're not going to solve problems in life. Hello. But when you create them so that you can solve them, which brings more drama into your life, you gotta wake up. And I did.
Well, and here's the thing, because when I sit down with people who build their own businesses, they've probably had a business coach or 7 before they come to me.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, so what are you telling me, to ignore the problem? How can I not fix what's broken? I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
because I want to know what's working well. And
Yeah.
let's double down on that. Because the flip side of a problem solver is a builder.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I'm not saying sit in a lotus position and just daydream all day long. That's not what's going to get you anywhere in life. Like, you have success is faith expressed in actions. You have to take action.
Mm-hmm.
However, think about what you want, look at what's working, and pour your energy, your time, your effort into that, and energetically starve the other part. Like,
Yes.
you do it in other areas of your life. Like, we're sitting right now, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I'm in Pennsylvania. It's 12:36 p.m. It's about lunchtime. If I'm hungry, so that's the point of awareness. That's where the contrast comes in, right? Like, I'm hungry. What will I do? Build more awareness about how hungry I am and watch how my blood sugar level will continue dropping? Or am I going to go to the kitchen and get a sandwich? Right. I'm going to get a sandwich. If we are outside and it's getting chilly, are you going to be bitching and moaning about how chilly it is and how terrible summers are in Pennsylvania? Or are you going to get a hot cup of tea or coffee, get a jacket, go inside, start a fireplace? Right. That's what we need to do in business. Every single business person of mine who comes in and says, this is what's not working in my business, I say, I don't care. There are business coaches for that. What I want to hear is what's working, what you love, and we're going to go all in on that. It is
Yes.
amazing how that light, happy momentum creates such emotion that whatever maybe wasn't working before just literally dies on the vine.
It's funny, like one of the first questions in every session, no matter what, when I work with somebody, is what's going well. And it's so awkward the first few sessions because people are like, I don't know. Because we're not programmed that way. We're not programmed to ask the question to ourselves, like, what's going well? Maybe there's a gratitude practice once you get into this or this and that, but it's so the avoidance of pain. So I don't want this and I don't want that and I don't want this is one way to move. There's
Yeah.
only 2 ways we move, right? The avoidance of pain. And that's most of us are trained that way through our entire life until they meet people like us. And then we say, listen, there's another way to move, and that's towards what you desire. That's
Mhm.
towards the good. That's towards like the everything you just described. And so when I've described, I was like, oh, wait, I can have more fun this way. So let's go this way towards the good versus because and sometimes when you're starting, and guys, what we're teaching you right now is free. It's free to manage your thoughts.
Yeah.
Now, it helps to have somebody to bring you back to gain the momentum that you talked about, and to have the repetition and the reminder, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I get it, I got it, and like, dude, I think this way over here now instead. But it's literally like if you just took that one nugget from this episode and just started monitoring, what am I thinking, what am I saying, what am I thinking, what am I saying, the ones you can catch, because I know there's a lot we don't catch. But start there and just shift, and it's like, wait, I just said I don't. Oh, what do I want then? What
Yeah.
do I want instead? And switch it. That is game changer.
It is. It
Yeah.
totally is. Because our thoughts have a tendency to materialize. That's really what intentional
Oh, we're
manifestation.
always manifesting, right? Good, bad, ugly, all the things.
Thoughts are simply the sparks that start the momentum that create things come from ether into 3D reality, right?
Yes.
And when people say, well, I can't think like that, well, you are the thinker of your thoughts.
Mhm.
So unless we're talking about a medical condition when somebody is, medically ill, yes, you can. You absolutely are in control of your thoughts. Now, here's a little bit of science. When you're thinking a certain way, it's like walking a path in a forest a certain way. The more you walk, the more defined is the path, the deeper the grooves in your brain. Again, not woo woo, we can do a CAT scan. However, can you veer off the beaten path? Yes, you can. Is it going to be easy at first? Heck no, because you have to cut through the bushes and the shrubs and, travel the path that isn't there yet. But if you keep trying, eventually you're going to build a new path. And the more you walk it, the faster it's going to get. The same with our mind. Once you start practicing, and I call them bridging thoughts, because I think there is so much toxic positivity on social media.
Mhm.
Just affirm, just keep going and saying, I'm a millionaire, I'm a millionaire,
Yeah,
I'm
right.
a millionaire. In the meantime, you're getting overdrafts on your bank accounts, your credit cards are maxed out, and you're like, I'm a millionaire, I'm a millionaire. No, you're not, Toots. You broke. So just admit where you are.
Mhm.
There is no shame in that. It's just a data point. And then let's build a bridging thought, which could be I am working on my relationship with money. I am
Mhm.
getting to know my money situation better every day.
Mhm.
I learn a new practice that I'm going to try for a week.
Mhm.
Those are bridging thoughts. They're not reaffirming that you're broke. They're not digging deeper into I'm terrible at money. Oh, we didn't grow up with much. Oh, this is not possible for me. I'm too far gone. So on and so forth.
Mhm. Mhm.
So my suggestion to people is get clear, build the awareness of where you are, decide where you want to go, and then let's build micro shifts, little bridges
Mhm.
to get you from here to there. And you know what? I started working with people where the first bridging thought was, I'm safe.
Mhm. It's a big one. Okay, so there's two things I want to touch on what you just said. The first one is getting clear on where you're at. A lot of us have either put our head into a hole like an ostrich in the sand and have just been like, oh, it'll get better, it'll get better, it'll get better. You got to get real with where you're at, but not from shame or blame. And that's another piece that you said. Not from shame or blame. It's getting real where you're at, getting honest, because if you don't know where you're at, you can't really go to where you want to go. Like you got to be aware of, and not again, not from like, God, I suck, or God, this, or da, 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 da. Like I can't believe it's just the awareness so you understand. And then what you said next was you got to know where you want to go. Now, I know when I was asked that question in the beginning, I was like, I just want to pay my bills because I just lost my job. And so like what do you want in your what do you want? I'm like, I want a business that pays my bills. So I started small in that, and my bills weren't huge at the time. It was like we had sold our house to go to something smaller, so we had less bills. Like we really cut our expenses down big time because I was like, how am I going to live without an income to build this business? And so I made a lot of micro choices to set the stage so that I could last longer on what I did have. Um and I just wanted to pay my bills. And then it expanded. And after I got to pay my bills, I'm like, oh, what do I want next? And like you can keep expanding and massaging it. Now, to your point, to like what the toxic positivity of, just decide or just do this or just do that, this and that. Like, yes, and know that this is not a one and done journey. It's like, okay, I did that differently. Yeah, and you've got to keep knocking the bushes down and keep building that pathway. So I love that analogy. And now I just forgot the second thing. You said something at the very end there. What was the last thing you said? There's something you said at the very end of what you said, and that's what I wanted to touch on. Dang it. I need to write this shit down. It's okay. It's okay. So we've dropped a lot of nuggets and a lot of ways of like what you started out with and what are some of the first things you did when you wanted to make this move, this and that. So when did you officially go into business and what is it what you do now or was it different? And has that evolved over time? Or are you, and how long have you been in business?
So I actually took micro shifts. I didn't quit my corporate. I started practicing being a business owner. So this is actually the secret sauce. So many of
Good to know,
us,
guys.
right? So many of us expect that our reality is going to change and conform to what we want before we initiate the change. That ain't gonna work because our reality is subjective. What does it mean? We curate it and it
Hmm.
comes from within. So what I did, I'm not a believer in extreme measures. Like life is supposed to be fun. Quitting my job cold turkey didn't feel fun. So I said, what would I do to allow myself a bridging thought?
Hmm.
Well, I was with that industry for 25 years. I had a pretty lofty bank of time off. Like, let's say I had about a month and a half for it per year.
Hmm.
I took Fridays off June through August.
Hmm.
And during those Fridays, remember how when we were little, we used to play pretend?
Hmm.
Like to be a doctor, to be a teacher, to be a hairdresser. I played pretended being the business owner.
Thanks.
I literally come down a different part of my desk with a different laptop. And I literally pretended that I was running the business. I was coaching. I was coming up with my logo, with the name of my company, with what I'm going to teach people and who I'm going to coach. And then I registered my business. I didn't have a single client. Nobody even knew what I was doing. And I registered my business and I went to the local bank and I opened a business account and I was depositing $500 from my personal account. I didn't
Hmm.
have a dime to my business's name. And as we were doing it, I was totally pretending that this was a successful business and it's 500, 500,000, 5 million, like who the freak cares, right? Like universe is not on a budget. And so by the time we were done with the paperwork and they set up my account, they're like, "So what do you do?" And I started telling them what I'm doing. And they're like, "Wow, that sounds amazing. That is like such a different mix of like business coaching and counseling and like energy work." And they're like, "How long have you been in business?" And I went, 23 minutes.
Love it.
But it felt so real.
Hmm. Hmm.
And when it felt real, I started talking about it in present tense.
Hmm.
And before I knew, there were people from like across the world who would read something on my social media page and be like, "Can I talk to you?" So many businesses are starting local, trying to go global. I actually started international because there were people across the pond, different time zones that I could coach after my business hours.
Hmm.
Now, listen to this. Remember how we talked about whatever you pour your energy into grows?
Hmm.
My corporate job started drying out. I literally watch it wilter and shrink. So eventually, I got job eliminated with an 8-month severance package. That was a beautiful bridging experience from where I was to where I was going. So, my point to anybody who is right now in corporate in W2 and thinking about starting a business, get honest with yourself. If you want a side hustle, like a little hobby that pays for itself so you can do those target runs without guilt, go for it, girl. But if you're serious about owning a business, don't call it a side hustle. Call it what it is.
Hmm.
It is your business. And yes, you can. You can have the and life. You can literally have a corporate career and own a business.
Yes.
And then you decide if something feels more like a pull and you're gravitating to it, do more of what feels good. In the world of energy, that's why I'm such a big fan of energy work. There is nothing wrong, there is nothing right. There is light energy, heavy energy. If something feels heavy, get curious. If it feels light, do more of that.
I love that. And I can feel that when you said it. I can visualize it and feel it. And that is the key. If you can and feel what it is and you can visualize it, then it's going to happen. It's yours. It's meant to be for you and stuff. So um I love so much, but for the sake of time, we'll have to do another podcast at some point in time, girl. Tell people if they want to stay in your world because of all the beautiful magic you just dropped on them, how can they stay in touch with you?
So I know everybody throws their websites around like confetti.
I
And you can totally go and visit my website. It's the name of my business. It's atlas-paradigm.com. Why dash? Because Atlas Paradigm was already taken. So it's atlas-paradigm. But I am super social on social media because I believe that we get the beautiful reciprocity of energy when we understand who that other energy bundle is. So I want you to know that I'm a crazy foodie and I will travel for a good lunch. I want you to know that I've been raising Dobermans for 25 years and I'm a former swim mom. Like, I want you to know all of the things because some of it will make it super relatable and you will want to like get to know me better. And some of the things will be like, oh, and that's cool too. That's the sifter. There are no good or bad people. There are people who are matched vibrationally and not a match. I not only want to have a profitable business, I want to work with my humans. I want to make sure that when we get together, we'll light each other up. And you walk away and go like, oh my God, this was like the best hour of my life on a weekly basis. So I would just say, look me up on Facebook, look me up on Instagram. It's Lena Khais, pretty easy to find. And I would love to chat.
Excellent. And all those links will be down below. And so, um, if there was one last thing, which I think I know which one I would drop, but if there's one last thing you want them to walk away with, what would you want to absolutely, if you've heard nothing else today, please remember this. What do you want to tell them?
If you don't choose to live life by design, you're going to exist by default.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You can make that decision the next minute, and
Yes.
everything will change.
And as you guys can hear, you don't have to do it alone. I can tell you just from my own observation of Lena, you get into her social media world and you like both of us are very similar in social. We share everything. I treat it like a digital diary. It's a mix of my life and my business and my ahas and my very first one of my very first lives when I was challenged in this business. I took a video of my dog pooping by accident and it got like the most like engagement ever. I was like, okay, thanks, Riker. But I flipped the camera by accident. But but my point is that what you see is what you get with both of us when we're on social. And what Lena does is shares a lot of free stuff for you to be able to like engage with and learn without ever. Because I don't know if you feel the same way, Lena, but I feel like if you spent any time listening or reading or with me, you're my client. And there's people who spend time and money with me. Some people just spend time with me. And so she does a ton of free stuff to help you. And of course, we're coaches and we have a business. So we do get paid and we have next level services for that. So just by engaging in our social media world, and that's why I direct them to social media too, because my website is an information place. It's more, but my life and my vibe is on Facebook, same as you. So thank you guys. Thank you for listening to this episode. If you think that something that she said today or I said today is that someone else needs to hear it because they want lighter energy versus heavy energy, please share this podcast with them. Subscribe, follow all the things. And thank you so much for coming, Lena. I could talk to you forever.
Thank you for having me. I love you.
I love you too. Mwah, hearts, hearts.